Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm just going to do this video today. It's kind of a personal video, and I was just kind of thinking about it driving home from work today. And as far as I wanted to talk about relationships and what it's like, or in other words, kind of the feelings that one has when someone is dating someone that has a reputation, legacy, body count, blah, blah, blah. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I have had some experience in this, and I've known people that have had experience in this whole concept. And I see a lot of like manosphere and tangentially related, like tradcon kind of videos talking about this subject. I wanted to weigh in on this. And first of all, wanted to say a couple things. So I do not believe in shaming anybody for having a lot of partners, or saying that, and that is up to and including like thinking that you cannot have relationships with them. I have friends that have been with, that are, without giving, I'm going to try to be very succinctly private about this, but I have friends that have had very long-term relationships with people that have worked in certain industries, I'll just say, and nothing has ever happened. They didn't go fly away into Dickville or whatever, you know. So I've known anecdotally numerous people that have had these types of situations to some extent. People go through some of these things, and actually this girl I dated a while back, which will come up in a second here. Oh, actually a long time ago. She's engaged. So I saw social media. Now, I'm not going to say anything else about that. I don't want to shame anybody too much, but I'll just say that, yeah. I was like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything else. I don't have to say anything. But anyways, so this is kind of more about the feelings that are there from this type of dating, or dating this type of person. Now, relatively in comparison with these women that I've dated, pretty inexperienced. Now, I'm not completely inexperienced, but especially in comparison with these women that I talk about, that I'm talking about. So, I mean, from the beginning, when I started dating, my first date was a girl that had kind of just say, rest in peace, coquettish reputation. That's right. She's no longer with us, unfortunately, but it's just needless to say that was kind of her. She had a kind of a thing, back in the day in high school, a little bit, and when it comes to these types of girls that there's an archetype that I see. One of my ex-girlfriends really did not like me comparing her to this archetype subtly that I did during our relationship. And what I see is, at least in my case, from what I've dated, is that, obviously there's some, that are a little bit on the heavy side to some extent, I'm trying not to say too much about this. Now, that doesn't really mean that all of them are. I'm just saying that, a lot of times they are. That's my treadmill going off for some reason. But speaking of heavy side. So another factor that they have, I see that they had some kind of prior trauma in their life, and that could include certain types of trauma that are of the sexual variety. Unfortunately, that's the case with some of these women. Now, the unfortunate thing about when I've dated these types of women is maybe it is because of their relative youth, because the way that they are in dating It depends on who it was. Like more recently, someone I dated like this, she was very much like, um, at least publicly to me, or at least the face that she showed me, she wasn't really, I don't know if she was regretful about her legacy or whatever in her past, which it was in her past because she was engaged. This other girl was engaged too, before she met me. I don't know if she was regretful, but she wasn't necessarily like proud of it. But I've also met girls that were kind of proud of it. It's like, I don't even remember how many guys I've been with. This one girl I dated, I'm like, and this other girl that I date, was actually in a somewhat serious relationship with a while ago. Now, she was like, oh, I was such a slut, And I've talked about this before, but I deleted my videos. I talked about this because I didn't want to talk about it, but I'm ready to talk about it now. So this is what I think. I think, like I said, I think people can grow and change if they want to be in a serious relationship with someone and they've had a past, kind of a pattern in the past where they were with a lot of people. I think that that's their choice. Now they may, they break up this person that they're in a serious relationship with. Maybe they'll go back to the habitual thing. Now, these are some things I noticed. So I already said wait, because I've dated girls. Like, how many girls have I dated like this one? First one, there's four women that my first date, was kind of, it was high school. That was a little different. It's not really, made out and tried to date her, but it had an impression on me. So, and then all this stuff happened with this BBS that I was on, and this guy, I'm not going to say who it is. I don't think he watches my videos, but it's a long story. But yeah, that's what happened with, I noticed that they're, kind of self-medicate. They like to, the ones that I've dated, like more in my adulthood, and including the girl who, unfortunately, the first girl I dated like this, they're into drugs and stuff and alcohol or whatever. I remember one ex-girlfriend, she said, oh, I got so blackout drunk all the time that during that period of time, I don't even remember a lot. Like, Jesus Christ, what the hell are you doing, And me not being kind of sheltered, sort of sheltered, but not sheltered. It's this weird thing that I have, this like weird innocence that people talk about. And it's probably true. Maybe it's like autism or something. I don't fucking know, but whatever, it's this thing that I have. So this whole thing with regards to like what I'm trying to get at. So I'm going to talk about these traits that they all have in common, right? They self-medicate with drugs or alcohol a lot of the time. They're traumatized by something in their life. They have strange kinds of things going on. I only dated one more seriously of these types of women because the problem was when I was younger, trying to date someone like this, is that I felt so insecure. I remember this girl that I went out with. I think she's like a Christian now. I went out with for like 3 weeks, but it made an impact for some reason, back in the day. And she was like, knew all these people, was super social. So a lot of times they are super social, but they also have like a very dark side, very introverted side, these girls, these types of women that I'm talking about. It's almost like an archetype, I'd call it. Kind of an archetype, they're, and I've hit this archetype quite a few times, unfortunately, or fortunately, maybe there would have been no one else. I'm just being kind of pathetic and self-pitying. I'm just joking. I don't believe that. Because I've dated girls that weren't like that either. So it's not like, oh, we're all like that. No. So this whole thing, like, all right. So obviously there's problems. And a lot of times that does lead them to be super promiscuous for a certain period of time, or be in like denial about, have this kind of thing. And I don't think you can't date one of these girls, but you have to go with their trauma. Even people that I know that are with people still after decades that have pasts like that, the woman had some trauma in their past, and it sort of is tied into some of the promiscuity. And I'm not trying to sound like a moral conservative or something like that, or tradcon, but it oftentimes is the case. It doesn't mean 100% of the time it is, but a lot of times it is. So the thing is, the problem I've had with these girls when I date them is I get extremely insecure, because my whole thing is like, well, okay, so you've been with, I mean, they never tell me how many they've been with, but, you know, let's say they've been with 100 guys, one of them. Like, let's just hypothetically say, you know, one of the the girls that I actually seriously dated like this, they've been with 100 guys. Okay. Now, of course, me being into like this manosphere shit makes them insecure too. So I'm not gonna I'm gonna acknowledge, but you know, like the whole frame that I've been in though with these girls is that I'm the guy that's like relatively like behind in life a little bit with regards to that stuff. So I'm kind of trying to catch up, which I always will be, by the way. Unfortunately, no matter what, I'd have to go back in time and start having sex, you know, and when I was like inhabit my body and just like, you know, do a retcon of my entire life. But it's sad, but it's the truth. So this whole thing with like the problem happens when, especially when the relationship is starting to be like the hormones, like the love emotion, the love chemicals, the oxytocin or whatever, starts to diminish. So with me, it's like I get obsessive and insecure when that happens, because I'm like, shit, you know, what are they, you know, I'm just gonna come out and say my insecurities. I'm just gonna say it. I don't care. Troll me if you want, like with that one dude. Or I've had 2 bad trolls on here, but I don't really care. I blocked one of them. So I feel like I'm competing with a lot, you know, and you know, I'm sure that they may feel the same way if I talk about like going out and hitting on women or something, even though it's not probably, they're probably, being a man, I'm just gonna say this is a little controversial as well. I don't think they've had, I'm gonna turn on the light. I think they've had probably quite a bit more experience than I have, unfortunately, or fortunately. Like I said, I'm catching up. It's not gonna, you know, like when you're talking about these girls that were like 2 or 3 years of their life where they're just going to bars every night or every, you know, once or twice a week, and they're having one night stands with a bunch of guys or whatever. It's going to take me, I mean, if I wanted to catch up with that, I'm just saying, it would take me like the rest of my life. Not the rest of my life, but it'd take me a long time to get even close to a lot of what they experienced. So that's not the point of this video though, but I want to talk about my emotions that I feel during these situations. And I feel kind of lost, like, what do I bring to the table that they're sitting there when they've been to so many tables, you know, they've been to so many restaurants. What is special about me? Especially when they're the type that doesn't really like compliment me. I'm just being honest. They don't compliment me for anything. They're just like, oh yeah, you're the dude. I'm just gonna be the woman, blah, 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 not give a shit. That's the worst. Like, you know, one girl I dated really didn't have a huge body count, but I still got insecure for whatever reason, because that's what happens to me a lot of the time. And I gotta watch my emotions next time with some of that stuff. But this whole notion is that I probably don't have as much experience as you, relationship wise or just casual wise. Now I'm just, you know, that I've counted 4 girls I've dated more than that. I'm just saying, as far as that were like this, but it's like, how do you compete with someone? It's not a competition. How do you compete with someone that's been with 100 guys by the time they're 26, you know, or 50? You know, when you've been with 7 or 8 or whatever it was at the time, or 6 or, you know, 6, 5 or 6 or whatever. I'm just throwing numbers out there. I'm just throwing numbers out there. You know, how do you compete with that? You know, how do you fathom like being like cognizant about that? Like, what do for one thing, it's the fear that they're gonna probably get bored. You know, they'll be like, well, first of all, what do they see in me? First of all, they have a pattern of not being able to keep a guy or be with a guy for a long-term relationship, even if they were engaged and with a guy for 3 years or whatever it was last time. You know, they have a pattern. There's a pattern there. You know, there's a pattern of trouble. You know, people can grow and change, and people can, you know, obviously evolve. I've seen people do it, believe it or not. Like I'm talking about my friend, one of my friends. He's with someone that, you know, they've been together, God, I want to, 2002 or 3, you know, and I'm just saying, you know, people could change. She obviously, you know, is a different person than she was. And so is, you know, so are some other people. But I think it's just, it's rough. It's like this whole thing. It's like, oh, well, let's talk. Oh, when they talk about their experiences having, you know, with sexual things, it gets even worse. It's like, you know, like how it's first of all, how can I compete? And then the second thing in my head is like, how can I beat that? You know, it's like, how can I beat? I mean, that's the same thing, but I mean, like, how can I be better than that for them to want to stick around? Because they've already been with all these guys. They're with me, you know, it is the present. They're spending a lot of time with me. They're spending, you know, they do make sacrifices for me. But the whole thing is like, I want a signifier that they really want me. Not, and you know, another thing I've noticed about these girls, and this is just a stereotype, you know, they don't really care about like things that I do. And I know that's a lot of women, and certain relationships are like that. And it doesn't mean there's the sluts are, it's only the sluts that are like that, sluts, you know. But it's like, you know, I'll play them some music, they'll make a complaint sometimes or something like that. It's like, I'm looking like Claw's Mine. Oh, it's getting a little better. Claw's Mine. You know, like that SOD song, You're Bald. From back in the day. Well, Claw's Mine. Ballad of the Scorpions. Fuck, I remember that shit. But yeah, it's like, you think about, like, what are you competing against? What are you trying to, you know, you're competing against something that you can never compete. This is the thing. You can never compete with it because you'll never catch up and you're doomed. And you have to accept that and then live your life accordingly. But you're never going to catch up with that. A girl that's spread her legs for 100 men. A man's going to, I mean, you'd have to be a professional pickup artist, like teaching guys how to do that stuff for a living, or a rock star, period, to get to that level. And even that would take a while. I remember reading an interview with Tommy Lee, and he said he'd been with like 107 or 178 women in his life. I mean, that's a big number. But you'd expect more, you know? You'd expect a lot more than that from Tommy Lee, you know? But I guess that's just how that's probably a truthful figure. Like Lemmy said he'd been with like 1,000 or something, but he was old. So I don't know, you know? It was the 60s too when he got started, so who knows? But yeah, that's a lot of people to be with. And I don't know, you know, it's these feelings, these conflicting feelings, these emotions with these types of women that you date like this. Like, you just don't know. You don't have the trust or the comfort. And maybe that's what these right-wing channels and these people talk about, like Better Bachelor. Our body count matters. You know? I guess it does to some extent. But it's more like the idea behind the body count. Why is the body count there? You know, what other side effects are there? Like diseases or kids or whatever, you know? What are the side effects of a huge body count? Obviously, there's always going to be side effects unless you're super careful. But nobody's that careful a lot of the time, especially if they're on drugs or alcohol, you know, like a lot of these women have been. And they just didn't, I feel like they didn't respect me in many ways, these types of girls. One of them kind of apologized to me later. The girl that I talked about being the first girl I dated. She kind of apologized through someone else, like how she treated me and all the stuff that happened. But I feel like overall, they don't respect me. I've had women respect me in the past, and some women that aren't even slutty have have not respected me too. But I don't feel respected by a lot of these girls. I don't feel like they have any kind of interest in me as a person. It sounds really fucking feminine. I know it sounds kind of bitchy, but it's like sometimes I feel like these types of girls just want to have sex, and that's their way to get close to someone, and that's the only thing that they see is sex. And it's like, I don't really like, I like to have an intellectual, if I'm going to be in an actual relationship, like an actual dating situation scenario, not just sex, I want to be intellectually, have an intellectual connection with someone. That's just the way I am. Some people aren't. They could be with people that are, oh, she listens to pop radio and I listen to rockabilly. It's like, okay, well, that works for you. And I'm not saying someone has to like listen to Iron Maiden or something. I'm not saying like, but it has to be somewhat tangentially closer to some extent for me to really feel close to someone. But like, they don't even respect me as a person. Like, respect my dreams, my goals, my wishes, or try to like, I'm going to say this is going to sound like some kind of girl, like woman. It sounded like a bitch in some of this. They don't respect my dreams and my aspirations. It's true though. They don't. They don't talk about that. Like a girl that I dated, I was like, you should go back to school. Now I'm kind of against school because of a lot of stuff that's happened there lately, like college. But I thought she was smart, and I told her that and encouraged her to go to school and stuff. Thought it was great. She said she was probably considering it because of me, even after we broke up. She said that. But what did she ever do for me? What the fuck did she say to me? She just laughed at something, Oh, that's terrible. Like there's a guitar solo in one of my songs. It's like, that doesn't fit, That's the amount of your analysis of, what I do. It's like, you have no respect for me. It's like, you kind of laugh things off that I do. It's like, I can't respect that, especially when that's ties into that insecurity. When it's this kind of a girl that had a slutty past, it's even worse. It's harder than if, there's just some kind of weird bitch that doesn't want to hold hands in public like another ex of mine. I'm not mentioning names. I'm just going off on them tonight because I feel like it. It's your incel rant, man. Your incel rant. Like Steve Hoka. I ran fucking marathons. No. But anyways, that's how I feel about it. I just feel like I want respect. I do want respect, just like Aretha Franklin said. It sounds like a woman. I sound like a fucking woman saying this shit. But it's like, I do want respect from my partner in life. So if they don't respect what I do, give me any compliments or anything, they're going to be put to the curb. Not literally. Not curb stomped, but, put to the curb, like driven to the curb. Or their stuff will go down to the curb. Because I've done everything. I've praised, oh my God, you're such a good writer, blank, Oh my God, this is another girl I dated. It's like, oh, you're such a good writer. And, she actually respected me to some extent, that girl. But like, it's just like, and I'm going off on a rant about something entirely. But like I said, these sluttier girls, quote unquote, just have like a very troubled kind of way of relating to people that I think is true. All this like Playing with Fire or Better Bachelor, they talk about this, but they do have a different way of relating to people sometimes, and it can get in the way. I think you can get through with them. I think there's a point where you will. I think there's a point, if you want to have a monogamous relationship with one of these people, one of these women, it's fine. I don't think it's impossible, but I'm just talking about with the things that make it difficult for me, my emotions, So, one of these girls, I was still going out and approaching women for a long time when I was dating her, one of these types of girls. I was, I wasn't sure about things. It was kind of stupid. And then I stopped, and then things went to hell anyways back later. But, it feels weird when a girl has that kind of past, because and then you go out and they know, they know all these people, you're gonna run into some guy that they screwed for 2 weeks or whatever, and it's like, ugh, it's just so weird, it's not like I want a virgin, you know trad life or something. It's not, has nothing to do with that, but it's just like that. I think that the pendulum can swing way too far in the other direction as well, and that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like, holy shit, and they smoke so much dope. Some of these this archetype, they smoke so much dope. It's just like, can you stop for a minute and not smoke dope, or do your pills or whatever you do? I don't even know. Sometimes I don't even know what people do. They're on all sorts of stuff. They lie. That's another thing. Like, the trust is not there, because the trust, and maybe that's just my insecurities being projected upon them, and they kind of sense that, and then they don't reveal as much. But I remember this, my ex, I'll just say, I mean, her like making fun of me to her friends, like online, and she told me that later. I'm like, I was wearing like this Charlie Sheen-esque bowling shirt on our first date, and she made fun of it. It's like, I'm like, well, why did you go on a second date? I should have said that at the time. It's like, well, why would you want to go on a second date with someone you didn't like if you want to make fun of them? And it's not like negging people or something. It's just like, it sounded just like she just hates. She thought I was a Nazi anyways, because I had a Thor's hammer in a picture. But, I mean, it's just like, what the fuck, It's like, why are you going to, like, and then, she used to go to the bathroom all the time. I thought she was doing coke, but I don't think she was. But it was like, it was a little weird. It reminded me of the first girl I dated, because she used to go to the bathroom, and she said she just drank a lot of soda or whatever at McDonald's or whatever. But it's like it was like flashback, deja vu, including a movie theater thing too that happened. It was so weird. It was so spooky. I should have just, let it all out and said, well, why do you say that? Why do you, like, occasionally every couple of weeks talk about how you used to be a slut? What is the intention behind that statement? But obviously we're not together now, and I'm kind of happy for it, but I did have some good times. It was wild, it was kind of, she was kind of very insatiable, I would say, in some ways. So it kind of, I mean, talk about like feeling pressured to do certain things. I did, definitely. I'm not going to complain about it and me to her, it sounds like a bitch in this video. I sound like a girl. I'm just saying that that's what happened. It's like, and I just don't like this vibe. Like, okay, you've been with how many men? I don't know. And a lot of women too, by the way. Not that matters, I'm just saying. But you've been with all these people, and you have to talk about it occasionally for whatever reason, and you're with me. Do you want to be with me or not? Lay it on the line. It's like you talk about this all the time. Why the fuck? I mean, not all the time, but you mention it every once in a while. It's like, how bad were you? Are you trying to get me to ask how many guys you've been with and like admit, whatever number I've been with, What are you trying to do? What's the intention behind this stupid fucking charade, So, I mean, and then, it's just like this happened. And I realized that it's easy to get into relationships with these types of women some of the time, because they do, I don't know if they have lower standards, but it's a little easier, okay? And maybe that's my forte. I don't know. I'm just, sometimes I wonder, maybe I just need to be with girls like this, but I don't know. It's tough. But overall, yeah, I think it's good to be frank with your partners and just say, yeah, just say this, like, I've been with a lot of guys, but you're different for this, for whatever reason. I feel this way about you. We're together now. That's the way it is. But, no, it just, I used to be such a slut. Why do I care? Anyways, that's about all.